Hello, I'm Seth with Land House. Thank you for joining in. So I started building a camera gantry track, which goes from this back corner over here to this side of the shop, and there are two of them. And the thought was I would build this set of rails that would then have a set of wheels on them to roll back and forth. And between those would also be a second set of rails like this one. And it would have these linear bearings that would roll back and forth. But the problem is there's too much, whatever this movement is called, and it gets stuck. And it was happening on both set of rails. So the top here and this secondary rail. So I have a new plan. Instead of having the track sit as it is now, I'm going to pull all this down and I'm going to turn it, I'm going to remove that top section and just turn this bottom one up, if that makes sense. So the metal poles will be facing each other. And what I can do is use multiple sets of these U-groove wheels like you have right here. And it will sandwich that pipe. So here and here, like that basically. And that way it won't be able to rack, I guess is the term. And it will be the same on both of these. So I'll have a system kind of like this up there, and then another set like this on this track here. And hopefully the U-groove is enough that I can dial in and keep that metal pipe in there. So that's enough talking. Let's go ahead and pull the ladder up and remove what we have up here on the ceiling. To get this track up here, I used some rope and a couple of clamps. Never did screw this side in, so let me go ahead and unclamp this one, and we'll begin lowering it down to the ground. This is what I came up with previously. I just have five different spots where these pipes are cut through with a drill bit and then attached to the wood below. I'm going to use a series of bits to make sure that I get through this properly. And I'm just using a little WD-40 as a drilling lubricant here. Now that I'm through that, I want to make sure I line this up properly, straight up and down. Stepping up to the next size. And now lastly, I have a bit that is going to be just going through the top hole here, not all the way through. Okay, there we go. I've set the pipe up here on the wooden frame, and I've got my square measured out at about 2 centimeters. Just going to mark that here at the location of the hole that was drilled. Move down here to the next one. Get you into position there. Right there, and once again going to make that 2 centimeter mark. Now I can match up the hole that was drilled through the metal piping onto the line that's drawn under there at 2 centimeters and drill down. I placed the bolt in the other end to make sure that it didn't move. So now I can get this side done here. Okay, now to get this to stay together, I'm going to put one of these bolts in here and then put a nut on right after that. I'm going to tighten that down here in just a moment. The next step is to put another nut on there. And this is going to act as a spacer block. So we're going to spin it up to about a 1/2 inch from the other side. Place it down in the hole. And then a third nut is going to go underneath here. And that's going to lock everything down to the wooden frame. It was a fun idea, but I think more complicated than it needed to be. And also, I was having trouble with this piece right here not staying very well pieced together. So what I may do is just scrap the double pole idea and just use the single track, because it's much more solid whenever it's not split into two. And I think it's still going to be long enough to accomplish my filming needs. Anyway, we'll get the top pieces off here, because all we're going to need is this lower single piece, and we'll see what we get into after that has been disassembled. Everything was assembled with wood glue and pocket hole screws, so we'll go ahead and remove these and bust that glue loose. I may have to come back and put just a little support back here on the back for the two sections of plywood here when this comes loose. There we go. Now it's nice and manageable. Just got to remove the rest of these pieces and we're good to go. Alright, I was able to bust free all of those top pieces. So now it's just one 10-foot pole here, or pipe, but the pieces of plywood here are separate. So I need to go ahead and cut something to join those back up. I'm going to use a piece of that top runner here. I want to cut off this messed up piece here, and then I'm thinking like 8 inches ought to be enough to keep this together here. Let's go cut that on the saw real quick. I'm going to flip this over and line things up, and then use that piece right there to just keep these two pieces of plywood together. Well, that's looking pretty good. I think that right there will be enough to support that middle piece. So in the previous version, I had this rubber stopper that would keep the camera from falling off the edge. And I'm just going to remove this block that has that stopper on it, and maybe cut it down a little bit and transfer it over to this one. I'll also have to cut this piece right here to line up with the edge of the pipe. So let's go ahead and remove this one and the one on the other side, so that we have something on each end of this. Okay, I got the bumpers on both sides now. This design is so much more simple than the previous one. So it will be just mounted sitting like this, so the pipe is sticking out away from this board, and the track will, or the cart will be able to roll along here just fine. So the next step is to get the this piece up on the ceiling here, and previously I had these little blocks coming down, so I'm going to take those off and turn them 90 degrees and mount them into the 2x4s up there, so that I have something to mount down from. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, I'm going to measure out from the wall so that each of these is consistent. Alright, looks like if I do 31 inches here, should be good. Okay, time to get this installed. I think what I'm going to do is try to set this other end on the ladder over here. Something kind of like that. And then I'll walk this piece up here. and I'll be able to stick it back under this rope like was used in the previous attempted install. Something like this. Uh-oh. I'm about to slip off that ladder. Okay. This just needs to hold it up here long enough to get the other end screwed in there. The previous piece was so heavy that it was quite annoying to get up here. Okay, I got that piece of track up on the ceiling and it looks really nice. I like where the bumpers are. It seems to have a nice stability in there, and most importantly doesn't have that separation of the two pieces of pipe where it had such a gap there. So it doesn't go quite as far as it used to. You can see that I had a block right there, but that's going to be okay. Most of my filming is done here in the middle or over on the saw, so I think having it stop here is going to be okay. And I can still, with my arm, can probably come out a little bit more to get an angle from about this position right here. So I think it's going to be just fine. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get this other piece over here taken off and cut down so that it looks just like the other one. And then I guess it's going to be the end of this video here. Next time, we're going to tackle the task of making the little tracks or carts here. So the plan will be take these little pieces off here and take another wheel, and I'll probably add blocks here and here that come straight down. And I'll take one of my other little scrap pieces of pipe and make sure that it has very little tolerance in there so it holds itself to the pipe really well. But that's for the next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying this little mini series, hit that thumbs up button and be sure to subscribe. All right, I'll see you in the next part. Bye.